More Republicans betray causes they supported 10 minutes ago. The great bipartisan constitution-shredding project of 2024 continues at breakneck speed. Whispers about familiar villains preparing new versions of the election censorship programs that animated the Twitter files grew louder last week, when Virginia Senator Mark Warner let slip at a conference that the FBI and DHS have renewed voluntary communications with internet platforms. Republicans who objected to the last program on First Amendment grounds are now rushing to out-censor the censors. Between renewal of FISA surveillance, the depressingly bipartisan Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, and now a proposed no-fly list for campus protesters, most all of Congress, apart from a few libertarian holdouts, is signed up for the project of turning war on terror machinery inward. Not exactly the surprise of the century, but still, sheesh. This week's big letdown is the no-fly list. Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn and Roger Doc Marshall of Kansas were both critics of big tech censorship and campus speech codes. Like the Ministry of Truth in Orwell's novel, Marshall wrote in the wake of the J6 riots, educational institutions and news outlets have pitched in to stamp out segments of society that dare to disagree with their ideas. Marshall joined Blackburn, who professed to be horrified by the Twitter files, in promoting the Campus Free Speech Resolution of 2021. A tick of the clock ago, they explicitly sought to enshrine legal speech in protest on campuses. Now, under the banner of trying to restrain activities already barred by a law a dozen different ways, supporting terrorist groups, inciting violence, they're pushing a no-fly list for American students that clearly punishes legal speech, and will essentially put university officials in charge of deciding who gets to fly on airplanes. The recent GOP reversal started with October 7th. In March, Wired wrote an article reporting that Republican Intelligence Committee Chair Mike Turner argued against FISA reform using pictures of campus protesters on Gaza, suggesting FISA was being used to monitor domestic groups. At a private meeting about the reauthorization of a major United States surveillance program late last year, the Republican chairman of the U.S. House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, HPSCI, presented an image of Americans protesting the war in Gaza while implying possible ties between the protesters and Hamas, an allegation that was used to illustrate why surveillance reforms may prove detrimental to national security. One of the prior GOP objections to FISA was that it was used in monitoring January 6th attendees. Turner and a new group of House Republicans that includes Speaker Mike Johnson got ours fully back on the warrantless surveillance train, using images of screeching lefties to help overcome objections to snooping on domestic protesters. Same with the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which scooped up many ideas for imposing federal speech codes on campuses that Republicans have been railing about for ages. That bill passed with 133 Democrats and 187 Republican yays, establishing a model for future consensus. The parties are now agreed. Both are okay with the federal government being all the way up in the public's business, using as many levers as possible so long as each side gets to pursue its own individual spying or suppression fixations. Who said American politicians can't get along? Thanks for listening to the audio version of this article. For more, visit racket.news.